Hello, CSMFO land. This is Rich Lee, your co-host for the CSMFO podcast. I am joined here by a very special guest, the CSMFO President Jennifer Wakeman. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you, Rich.
So, we wanted to start off with a little bit of a softball here. Can you tell, for those of the CSMFO members that don't know you or aren't familiar with you, how did you get started in CSMFO?
Oh, gosh. That's like a story that begins at the beginning of time. I think like most people who are active in CSMFO leadership today, it started with someone asking me to get involved. I remember, being at my East Bay chapter meeting and seeing that they needed help at the registration desk and helping there. Or I think it was Eric Chung, who was the chapter chair there for a long time, and he was always looking for a vice chair. So I started there, just trying to be supportive of other members who were trying to be active and trying to help out, basically. And then from there, it just escalated, snowballed. Pauline Marks asked me to be on her Oakland annual conference host committee, so I did that. And then Drew Corbett asked me to consider being on board, so I did that. And after I was on the board, then it was committees. I kind of did a reverse role, I think, from most people. Most people are on committees before a board. And then after being on committees, then I was asked to run for president. So everyone, it's this strong network of friends that we build up within CSMFO. When people ask for help or ask you to be involved, there's a strong desire to say yes and a strong sense of responsibility to say yes.
So of all the experiences you've had, both, as a chapter leader, at a committee level, as a board member, and now as president, even though, this is February and, second month into your presidency, what are some things that you could say, perhaps someone that is considering volunteering, that from your perspective, they should definitely do that? Or some of your favorite experiences from each of those stages?
Oh gosh, I don't think there's a favorite thing from any specific stage. I would just say my advice is to do the thing. Just do something. Do something to get involved. Do something to get your name out there, because whatever skills you bring to the table, whether they're social skills or technical skills, who you are as a person brings something unique to the organization, and it's something that we can always use. And so just taking that initiative to do something is going to be huge for CSMFO leadership. It's always valuable to add that extra person to the leadership team.
So there's inherent value in being leadership in CSMFO. I just came back from the Cal City City Managers Conference.
Yeah.
And this is a bit of a transition for me, being in finance for 20 years. And I remember, gosh, I'm not going to know anybody. And, I'm just going to go there for trying to network. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to know anybody. And I went there, and I was relieved to see, there's a fair amount of people that I knew. And there were complete strangers that would walk up to me and say, hey, you don't know me, but I saw you present at a CSMFO event. I just wanted to come up and say hi. That kind of helps bridge when we are in other areas and perhaps a little unfamiliar for us. So that, CSMFO serves as kind of the bridge to other things that may be on our career path.
Oh, absolutely. I, in November, went to Cal Pelra Conference for HR for the first time and had that just completely unfamiliar feeling of going to a large conference and not knowing anyone. It was like my first time going to CSMFO, where you just are in a sea of people and just thinking oh my gosh, it was just such an unfamiliar feeling all of a sudden, until I saw those handful of people who I did know, and it was such a reassuring feeling and nice to know that that your network still extends to areas where you didn't expect to find it.
Yep.
And then even I recently accepted a new position, and even there I found that my CSMFO reputation preceded me. When one of the hiring positions heard that I had applied, they were already knew of CSMFO's stellar reputation for education in our field, and they were already impressed by me just because of their knowledge of CSMFO's reputation.
So you've made this progression from, at the chapter level to the board level committee. And you and I kind of followed a similar path where we really got our experience in with committees after you kind of had been on the board or while you were on the board. And now that you're the president, tell me about some of the things that you're really looking forward to in this year and this role.
Yeah. So this year, I feel like and I actually feel like it's these 3 years for me. My president-elect year, president, past president. These 3 years specifically are the culmination of a lot of change that this organization has undergone. We had a lot of growth right before, probably in the last 10 years, with our membership and our programs that we were offering. And then also with the occurrence of COVID, the way that we were delivering our programs and how we conceived of how we engaged our members changed vastly. And so on the heel of both of those things, there's been a lot of consideration given to how we want to be delivering things and who we want, not who we want to be delivering them to, but how and what, and doing that with intentionality and planning. And so these 3 years are really going to be about making those decisions about who we are, really defining CSMFO for who we're going to be going forward, and using all of that great experience that we've had in all of our history and in our most recent decade, likely, how that has taken all of those experiences and how they've shaped our organization, and trying to document that in this moment in time for how that is going to shape what we're going to be going forward. So I really feel like this is a pivotal time. I'm really proud to be serving with the current board members that I have and with the past board members that are still in the network of leadership today. And I'm excited to hear from the new leaders who are going to be coming on in 2025 and in the next years, because those are also the people who are going to contribute so generously to what this organization is going to be for our members.
So let's say, it's Tuesday. No, it's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday right before the conference. And let's say, you're going on the elevator and you happen to bump into someone, you see the first time attendee badge on there, and they're up and they're very gung-ho, and they're like, "Oh, you're the president." And this is like you're literally on an elevator. This is your elevator pitch to say something to them to inspire them to like, "Oh, you should consider joining us as a volunteer leader." And that 60 seconds that you have, what would you say to make them interested in the opportunity?
Well, I think that I'm not necessarily going to hard hit them with the ask to be in leadership right away, but I'm going to, I really think it's important to be authentic and to get to know people for who they are, not just the profession of what we do. And so, getting in the 60 seconds that I have, getting to know them and where they're from and finding out what their interests are, and then inviting them to come and sit with me at the general session table, or inviting them to, come and say hi to me later whenever they see me at the conference, just so that they know that they're, like we just talked about, knowing that they're not alone, knowing that, I have the title of president, but I'm not an untouchable person. I'm the same as every other member in CSMFO. Been there, right? There's no, we are in the privileged positions right now, getting to serve and getting to make decisions, but we are all in this profession together, and we're all here to support one another. So making sure that they feel like they're connected to me, or to their, making sure that they have a mentor or a contact within conference, so that they feel like they have a support system.
So you've said a few words there that make me think of the themes that you've selected for this year's conference. Can you tell me what brought you to selecting those specific words and how it's meaningful for our members?
Yeah, so it's as you know, when you're president, you select the theme of conference, and I'm sure that we give much more weight to the theme of our conference than anyone else, right? But it means a lot to me. So educate, connect, empower. We are all here to get the technical expertise that we need for our field, to be the best that we can be for ourselves and for our agencies. And that is obviously, tantamount to what we do in our careers. But I think there's also this equally important part that is connection to the people in our field. In the public sector, we have the benefit of not being in competition with our peers, and that offers us a huge advantage. We don't have to be alone. We don't have to struggle with trying to find a solution to our problems. We have a resource right next to us at the table at the chapter meeting, or right across the table from us at the conference lunch session. All we need to do is be empowered, take the confidence to just ask the question and say, like, I'm struggling with this one thing. Has anyone else done this? Maybe I haven't done it, but I know Rich Lee has, and I can send that person to you, and you are like, the magic answer to all of the questions that they've been struggling with. And I just think that sort of connection and support network within our organization is really key to all of our success. So my message is that when you have both of those pieces, the technical education and the peer support network, you're really in a position to be empowered to do whatever you want, whatever you think you can do, and even more than you think you can do. And that's my personal Kool-Aid that I drink, my personal story. Honestly, if it weren't for the peers in CSMFO, I would never be wearing the title of 2025 president. Just would never have happened. And so I think that, I would like everyone to just consider that they have the tools through CSMFO to challenge themselves to be as much as they want to be, and maybe even more.
So there are two real new-ish programs in CSMFO, speaking of Connect, that I attribute to you. And I've participated in the mentorship program, but there's also the cohort program. And perhaps for those members that have kind of been sitting on the sidelines wondering, like, well, I feel like I could really benefit from perhaps connecting with some of my peers, but they weren't sure. What would you say to those that are kind of have been sitting on the sidelines?
So my message to people sitting on the sidelines is don't. You're only going to get as much out of this life as you put into it. So you have to just take the chance sometimes. And in CSMFO, nobody wants to see you fail. We all want to see each of us succeed. Nobody wants to see anyone's agency or anyone's name in headlines. So all of us are here to do whatever we can to prevent that from happening. And even in terms of personal lives, I can tell you that there are many people who have held me up in my personal life as well in this organization. So I would just say don't hesitate to make the connections if you're standing on the sidelines and wondering if they're for you. I would just say to take that chance. Cohorts came about during COVID because, there was a sense of our members being isolated. There had long been, when I was on the board, I was assigned to Northwest Counties chapters and North Coast chapter, And those two chapters are notoriously challenged at having regular meetings because the agencies are so spread out geographically. And it's really challenging to get them together physically. And so I had already been trying to think about ways that they could get together. I don't know if you remember this, but I had talked about, could we set up a screen where we have, people interact with each other over the computer. And that was before COVID and Zoom. Yeah. And so when COVID hit, cohorts just kind of seemed like a natural extension. I had already been thinking that way. And then as we tried to think of ways to keep our members engaged and find opportunities for them to build a network in an environment where we couldn't be in physical contact with each other, utilizing Zoom and other platforms in order to bring people together seemed like a natural segue. And so that's how we came up with cohorts, where we gathered 20 to 30 people to meet monthly on Zoom and create their own kind of network. And I just love how the cohorts now have events that they plan to get together at annual conference to see each other face to face, and to have things that distinguish one cohort from the second cohort. And they have embraced it as an identity. It's just been really fantastic to see.
So,
but I don't know if you remember, all that actually came also out of Super Friends.
Oh, actually.
So during COVID, for those who don't know, there was a group of CSMFOers who I have been close friends with for a long time. And we had a text string that was named CSMFO Super Friends. And anytime we had a professional or personal crises, that was our lifeline to support one another. And so cohorts was also kind of a way to just kind of recreate CSMFO Super Friends so that everyone had that lifeline.
Gee, I wonder who came up with that name.
Might have been Rich Lee.
I want to take a little bit of a pivot. So, and I think I just want to get your perspective on this. Gosh, it's been, I think, 3 years. GFOA had come out with a research they had done on recruitment and retention issues, within public finance. And they presented at our conference a number of times on it, as well as GFOA conference. And presumably some of the folks that might be watching this are college students, that they're in a MBA program, they're in accounting, and as you know, like, they might get a chapter, they might get a couple of weeks on government accounting. If you're trying to touch the hearts and minds of those that this is a viable path for a career, to contribute, like, what would you say to them?
Gosh. I kind of feel like the proof is in the pudding. Look at how many people there are in municipal finance. And look at how many of us have long tenures in municipal finance. This is obviously a field where you can get a lot of personal and professional satisfaction, and not everyone's going to be a CPA, and not everyone is going to be in the private sector working for the Big Four. There's a lot of saturation there, a lot of competition, a lot of pressure. If you want more life flexibility and still a rewarding career in which you have the benefit of seeing the impact of your work in a community, this is a great field to consider. It's surprising to me how many of us fall into this field accidentally, when it is so enriching. And I wish that there was more emphasis on it in colleges as a really viable option.
Which is one of the many reasons why, I want to say it was 2017, we were at the strategic planning session with Neil Kupchan, and we were talking about whether we should add more committees or get fewer committees. And he said, and I quote, "You guys should be going to colleges and universities." And we said, "That's a great idea." It was kind of the birth of the Student Engagement Committee. I know you've been involved in that as well. And that means, going to, meet the firm nights. I think that is one of the many ways that we as an organization, and, by extension, the profession, we have to go to the universities, because otherwise they're not going to know. If we have to go to them.
Yeah. Yes. We have to go to campuses. We have to let students know and professors know. It is very difficult to gain traction on campuses. We have worked with a lot of accounting clubs, and oftentimes the student presidents are only student presidents for a year, and so you lose that contact after a year. We've had a lot of success with some professors being on the Student Engagement Committee because they can regularly invite us to present to their students. But again, you're hitting one class out of how many that are going on in the state every year.
Yeah.
One of my frustrations is that, I feel like we could make a huge impact by going to a CSU College Career Center conference. If all of the College Career Center recruiters had a conference where they got their training on how to support their students, and could hear from agencies such as ours, associations such as ours, about the need for people and what we can offer them, I think that would be huge.
It just so happens that I know that organization. I can't remember the acronym, but my sister-in-law was the president of that organization about
course she
3 or
was.
4 years ago. Gosh, I had another thought in mind, but
I was under the impression that that there wasn't one. That the career centers for the CSUs and the UCs all operate as standalones.
so I believe it's not necessarily UCs and state universities, but it's like the Western Alliance of colleges and universities specifically for career counselors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's much broader than California.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that would work too. It just seems like it doesn't have to be that. Don't have to be that far-reaching. But it does nicely align with our West Coast alliance that we have with our neighboring states' finance officer associations.
So for our members who aren't familiar, what does that mean? With this West Coast alliance.
Yeah. So CSMFO participates in a West Coast alliance. It's also sometimes referred to as the West Coast Partnership, with neighboring states, finance officer associations. So currently Washington, Oregon, Alaska, Colorado. I believe those are the 4. Mm-hmm. And we are in partnership to try and find synergies in the services that we offer to our members, and also just to create partnership in trying to find the best practices and the ways that we run our associations. In the same way that we, create networks within our membership, creating networks within the people who are leading these associations to make sure that we are offering the best value we can. And one of the ways that we do that is by sharing our webinars with other states that don't have as many, webinar resources as California, and also by sharing member rates for annual conferences so that our members can attend their annual conferences at member rates. So I like to think that maybe California CSMFO members who are planning to retire in the next year or two to Washington and Oregon want to do like a soft, or Colorado or Alaska, want to do a soft exit, might attend one of those out-of-state conferences to, see what those finances are like and move to one of those states and do their kind of quiet retirement. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe that's my future plan. That's why I think of it.
So one of my favorite movies of all time, Back to the Future, and the one of the key pieces of equipment was the DeLorean. So let's say you took the DeLorean out for a spin, and you set the date and time for when you just started your career in public service. And but you only have a couple of minutes to spend with yourself to give pearls of wisdom. What would you say to yourself?
I would say I tend to be hard on myself. I tend to be overcritical. So I think I would say to myself, I would encourage myself to believe the support that other people give me. Because I think that we all maybe have a tendency to be harder on ourselves than we have a right to be, than matches the truth. And I find that I got a lot more truth about my abilities and who I am as a person from my closest peers. They're the ones who have really shown me my capabilities and who I am and where my strengths lie. And I was the last person to learn them. They knew it first. So I would say to make sure I pay attention to those people and actually listen. Take it to heart.
So the mic is yours for anything else you want to share with CSMFO members, especially in your role as president. But if not, we will wrap, and this will be published probably in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. I would just reiterate that just always be looking for opportunity, no matter how small. Honestly, I truly never really don't want to be on that stage still on Wednesday. Really don't. But I will do it because, that's part of the deal. That's what I signed up for. And honestly, this is my next opportunity to grow. Yeah. And so I know that through growth, there's discomfort. And sometimes you just have to embrace that and learn through it. And so this is just part of the process. So sometimes when you feel that twinge of discomfort, I would just encourage people to consider sitting in that for a minute and seeing if they can push through, because I do believe that people have greater potential to do than we necessarily let ourselves think we do.
Words of wisdom right there. All right. This is your CSMFO podcast co-host, Rich Lee, signing off until the next time. Thank you, Madam President, for your time today.
Thank you,
And here's
Rich.
to a great annual conference.